Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are moving into map number 2, Tempo Storm versus Selfless, the MLG America's Minor. We're going to see who is going to move forward here. It's looking more than likely Tempo will be that team. But of course, Selfless, if they do drop this map, not the end of days, but of course, make their lives a little bit harder. That is for certain. So coming into this one, Cobblestone, I am Sprawl, joined by Mega Man.
Yo.
We are very excited to bring you this one.
Again, this is just going to be really tough. Tempo Storm's favorite map, and it makes you look back at the videos, and I know Launders, who's here on site doing casting as well as analysts and stuff like that, and it's just, he put out a tweet, he's like, I don't know why you allow a team's best map to go through just because you're not comfortable playing on Nuke. Leave the Nuke ban in there because it's almost a 100% guarantee that you're going to lose this map against a team so good on it that 33% chance you might have to play Nuke.
So we're into the pistol round, back and forth. It's a 3-on-3. Lucas will have the help of Henny here in a moment. Speaking of Henny, taking down Relics. Nifty inside of the drop down. He's looking to find Henny, and he does drop him. 2-on-2. Mitch follows it up, but now 1v1. Showtime versus Nifty.
Bomb's playing in back fountain, I believe, so Nifty's going to have to, well, Showtime can flush him out, or he can just shoot him in the face.
That's one way of going about it. Nifty looked like he was trying to just change his positioning a little bit there.
Didn't know
but
if Showtime made it to site yet or not. It was just a little bit of mind gaming going on there, and Showtime came out on top. No kid either, so, I mean, the patience perseveres. He didn't know if he was going to push around through square and come around towards drop side, or if he was going to push up aggressive on him. So tries to take the fight, ends up losing the ranged battle, and now Tempo Storm. That's 2 pistol rounds out of 3 that they've won, but the early buy-in T-side cash is what ended up closing out the map for him.
Yeah. So, again, Selfless would have been fantastic on the T side to get pistol, get some momentum after the brutal map, which was previous, but Tempo...
Something they haven't had yet.
Yeah, Tempo, on the other hand, they are back to their winning ways as they move into this next round. Very similar buy to what we saw in the CT second round as well, just the single M4, everybody else able to utilize weapons that gain them quite a bit of change. So Bolt's doing exactly that, 2 towards Broken Wall. It doesn't look like he's done. Phelps has to fall back out of drop. And that's just such smart play. Again, so sometimes you'll see a player with such low hit points not want to give up his spot because that's his role. But Phelps just falls back, allows his teammate to help out, and 5 alive, living the dream.
4 kills for Bolts that round with an MP9. That's $2,400 for those of you doing math at home. So he's going to have buku bucks going into that first gun round, which is, I mean, crazy important on the CT side of Cobblestone because you need to have all the smokes and everything for the CT side. Defending a B rush without proper utility is so incredibly difficult on this map. And one thing that they might not even have to worry about too much is B executes because like what Garrett was saying, the reason that Selfless was able to get back into the game against Winout was because they started having sloppy executes towards A, which just threw Winout off. They didn't know how to defend against that. So again, you said they usually solo with Henny over at the B-bomb or the A-bomb site. Sometimes it'll be 2 players over there. Showtime likes to play over with Henny as well to support him on long A, so I expect to see him double up sometimes like they are right now. But opening pick actually going the way of Relics here, so that's a nice little find for him.
This round, obviously the equipment very much at the advantage for Selfless. So this is a round where Tempo, they're really trying to get ahead very early. They could have assumed this buy would come out and upgrade with it, but not going to be the case here. And if they win on top of it, again, depending on how many players survive, they can collect some AKs, but hold that thought. Selfless, they're able to find,
it's a
3-on-3, and the bomb goes down. Luckily, there still is time, and actually the A-bomb site is actually secured, but like you had stated, the bomb is not in their hands.
Yeah, they've got to worry about mainline coming around on this flank and Relics coming down through mid. If they time this properly, they can pinch Showtime. Mainline, and then there you go. They did exactly what they needed to do in that situation. Relics grabs the bomb, and he's footing it over towards B right now, so we'll see how they rotate, but I believe Showtime actually had enough gall or at least enough information to call that they didn't check back in towards mid, so he was able to say that they're probably most likely and most definitely going towards B. And with the flashbangs barreling over the top, they know exactly what's going on. Phelps, he's got 20 HP and a mag 7 to work with, but he is playing close up, so, well, he didn't wait for him to go for the plant.
Yeah, that was a little over-aggressive. He made his way to a pretty good position, and I was surprised he even made it that far before Selfless came out, but now it's Bolt's 1v2. He's looked so good thus far. He's going to put more damage here into Relics as he's trying to dance around the statue. Knows exactly where both players are at, and he will find both of them. Bolt is unreal right now. Selfless, their best chance at a round, and they can't complete the 1v2.
3 rounds in, he's 8-1. He started off the last game 7-0 before I think he got his first death on the board. He was something like 13-1 at some point. And this is what I've talked about. You know, I remember listening to like Thorin's thoughts or something like that about Tempo Storm, the rise of Tempo Storm, and how he was saying that he thinks the best player on Tempo Storm is Bolts.
Right.
Henny, yeah, he's got the great op, but he doesn't always take over matches. He's not the most consistent with it.
Yep.
Phelps, another all-star. I compare Phelps to a lot like Cold Zero is to LG, but Bolts is my best player on Tempo Storm as well because he's calling the strats for the Terra side, but he's so damn solid on the CT side.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things Dazed has actually even talked about, too, is the fact that he loves playing with Bolts because he knows that he can say, I'm going to play this spot, and he knows he's good for a kill, maybe 2, sometimes 3, sometimes 4 from certain areas on maps.
Yeah, just a super intelligent player, and he's really coming into his own here on this lineup as we see two towards Broken Wall. Bolts deep nade there as Relics take some damage. And Selfless, pretty standard stuff in that we're not seeing anything crazy in this round. They've got one towards A. Obviously, the buy is a little bit shifty as we'll see if they can find it here. Henny whiffs a shot there, close range, and now an op in the hands of, actually, they don't pick it up. Okay, eventually Uber grabs it, and Mitch Relics finding frags. It's now a 2-on-4, so another good shot here for Selfless.
If I'm Tempo Storm, I probably concede this round. That was a little bit sloppy from Tempo Storm. They had nobody watching drop. Phelps was on the outside by Rock's side of drop, and then Henny just got caught with an AWP and his pants down over there towards CT spawn in the connector outside a window room, and they just try to brute force their way in. He gets one, he gets traded. It's hard to hold that against multiple people rushing you at the same time when you've only got an op. And that's what they're going to do. They're going to concede the round. They should. I mean, they can drop one off of Bolts after this round is done. Showtime can probably buy himself. A FAMAS, maybe a UMP. Henny is going to have enough to rifle into this next round. Should have enough to actually op into this next round. So Tempo Storm's probably going to buy behind this. It's not bad. Yeah, Bolt's at 5250. He'll be able to drop one. So I wouldn't be surprised if they go for a buy here to try to trade that round out and put Selfless back on a low money situation.
Yeah, here we go. They're going to be shifting around everything. And considering how they moved into that first rifle round, when Selfless had all AKs, they're very comfortable with this kind of weaponry. On a map like this, the Mag 7, there's so many spots to use it.
And that was a really nice execute from Selfless. I don't want to take anything away from that either. They had 3 Tech 9s and 2 rifles, and they made it work.
It is a bit of a risky play, but again, pays off like you had highlighted.
It was a little bit sloppy on one side, very nice on the other side. So that was something that we actually didn't see Selfless do in that win-out matchup, was go for those splits down through the window room of drops. So nicely executed from them, and they net themselves their first round on the board. This time around, you know, you've got Nifty with the op. He's going to have to be the X factor here for Selfless. He's got to be effective. He's got to be able to open up these rounds with these picks in towards the B-bomb site or towards long A. And again, I mean, he's going to be going, if he goes A, he's going to get toe-to-toe with Henny, who's playing on long A right now. You can see Mitch and Mainline working their way up as well. So they're going to confront a little bit here, and Henny's playing this off angle. This might work out really well. Oh, that flash was great, though. It's going to flush him back. Again, Showtime is over here to support as well. They've got 2 players in this area.
And smoke goes down, and look at that. Able to retreat to safety is Henny after Showtime kind of helps him out with that incendiary. So 45 seconds. Selfless, they've gained some ground on A, but it looks like they're very committed to this B-bomb site. Lucas will fall first and foremost. Nifty, and that's what we need to see from the op. Uber takes a lot of damage or HP off of Bolts. But right back at him, it's now going to be a disadvantage with 30 seconds for Selfless.
Phelps should be able to hear these guys running down long A. I mean, he doesn't want to leave Bolts out high and dry. He's got 9 HP at the backside of Fountain. Relics is going to be swinging. And Relics is going to be able to take him down. Now, Phelps needs to stay alive right now for this rotation to come in. He's got Henny over by Rock that's going to be joining him.
Oh,
he
my
pushes
God,
the
that
smoke.
timing was ridiculous.
That was great. Now, Relics on site. It's a nice little bait and switch. Phelps still looking for him through the smoke, but he's not going to be able to find him just yet. He's got him chipped down. Oh, righty. Going to find that one. Phelps going for more. Not able to knock down Nifty just yet. That bomb taken away right now, and they know exactly where Nifty is. So a little bit of spam out, and that baits him out right into Showtime. They finish him off, and that's the round trade that we were talking about. And you can see the money. It should be another buy here for Selfless. Maybe a Tech 9 for Mainline. The rest are going to have a decent buy. But the biggest thing is they don't let them start to build that bank up at all.
Yep, so 4-2-1. Showtime picking up the AK. I was wondering if they wanted to go for some sort of double op. Again, Nifty did die with that AWP, but it looks like they will just leave it.
Surprisingly enough, Tempo Storm, it seems like they double up on the terrorist side of Cobblestone more than they do on the CT side. We've seen Showtime pick it up. We've seen Phelps pick it up.
Yeah, and I
So
think this is kind of a map where you can make an argument where the double op can make it. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But if your rifles, automatic rifles, working really well currently, then don't need to alter the setup, as we'll see Selfless. Nothing too creative here as Lucas, I think, okay, he does get white screen, and that will allow them to hop on out. Relics is trying to make his way up sidewalk quickly enough that he can find a pick. Nice flick on a Phelps, but he's dropped by
Still haven't cleared Lucas, though. This is the scary part, is he was able to drop down, get through the smoke, and ninja vanish. They still haven't cleared out Lucas. He's going to find one. Finds two.
What a spray down.
That was beautiful. He just bides his time. He did pop a couple of shots, but because of the flashes and the smokes blooming, they weren't able to hear that. And nice shot from Henny.
Yep, Nifty now in a 1v2, and we'll see if he can get it done. As going for the bomb plant here. Got no utility. Fire under his feet. Burn, as awkward and uncomfortable as it gets, as he spots out Henny. Showtime, though, able to take him down. And another round here for Tempo. Granted, they only survive with 2, so again, that economy is still kind of kept in check. The comeback ability for Selfless, it is there if they can take some rounds, as again, that economy hasn't quite found a foothold for Tempo, as they've now strung 2 together.
The big thing is that's actually the same 2 that were alive the last time, so they haven't had to rebuy an AWP. And again, I mean, we saw it against Winout when Selfless was able to win those 1v2s, those 1v3s over in the B-bomb site, just from the inexperience of the Winout players, the communication maybe not being on point. Those aren't situations that Tempo Storm is going to give away lightly. You're going to have to really work for those. And Nifty had an opportunity to get the frag onto Henny, saw him a little bit there. Henny misses the shot. But then, of course, the timing and the teamwork, you know, he said, okay, I missed my shot. I know where he is. Push, and he goes right around the corner, gets the kill, defuse comes out, and again, it's going to set him back a little bit. Nice shot from Relics, though.
Yeah, Relics has definitely been, like the analysis desk was saying, versus Winout. He had quite the series, but needs the rest of the team to step up as he finds a frag here, creates a 4-on-4. But they don't have a lot of equipment. Relics picks up the M4A1S and going to spam away a little bit here, but retreats back to the safety of his teammates. But in the midst of that, drop-down control now. Selfless will head on through, and it looks like they're committing fully to drop-down, and we'll see how this pans out, as it looks like Tempo, they've got decent positions to hold on here. Phelps getting 2 headshots. Lucas going to follow it up. It's only Mitch. Creates a 1v2, picks up an M4 as well. He's got 50 seconds,
guess
but
he's alive again.
Puts him away. Again, it's going to be Showtime and Henny.
Yep. And the thing is, you know, they're losing a couple of guns each one of these rounds, but Henny is now up to 6,200 because he didn't have to throw anything that round. He didn't expend any of his income. So if need be, he can easily drop a rifle over to a teammate, and they're going to have a healthy buy behind that. So they've got all the utility that they need on the CT side. Not a big deal. It's actually a double save coming out from Selfless, which is treacherous this deep into this map. On this half, because, I mean, terrorist side, the preferred side of this map. We've seen, you know, teams rack up, you know, 10, 11, 12 rounds on their terrorist side. It's not uncommon.
Here we go. They're just going to try and brute force into the B-bomb site. Smoke will put out the initial incendiary. Mitch finds one, but he's put away. Nifty with the deagle. He does find bullets. Nice headshot, but Lucas finds him in the end. And Tempo, they will continue the dominance, and I'm a little confused why Selfless on a rushing round, you got 3 players with deagles, but to each their own.
I would like to see a pause here coming into this gun round, talk things over on Selfless. And also, I would like to see them go back to what worked with Winout, test the waters with that fast A push. Down through mid. Now, you know, Henny, I mean, Yal was hitting some nice op shots, but it wasn't really until we saw him showcased on Dust 2, even though they got bodied out of that map. It wasn't until we saw Dust 2 that we really saw him be effective with the AWP. Henny's a little bit of a different story. We already know that he's a well-established AWPer, very highly skilled. But this time around, it's at least bolts going down, and Showtime's not able to get the spray transfer. He was actually playing very aggressive on A-Hall, so 2 opening picks for Selfless. Starts off strong for him. Yep,
they need to convert off of this advantage. Selfless finding 2 nice picks there. Aggressive play from Tempo as Lucas tries to find one through the smoke here towards Broken Wall. And you can see the setup is very interesting from the Tempo side. They've got Phelps deep in long A. Henny's helping them towards Connector and kind of watching drop in the midst of it. And then Lucas committed towards Broken Wall. So they're spread very thin. Phelps able to take down one player, though, and that'll bring it back a little bit. And still with the 55 seconds, Lucas takes down Uber. And you see Relics is the second one that's supposed to be in there. And with 28 hit points, he can't really effectively trade at all. And Lucas just comes up with 3. And
that's a
again,
solo hold B, too.
Yes.
He didn't have any help. Phelps pushing on long A distracted Mitch long enough that they delayed him pushing back around, and he ultimately ends up getting flanked anyway. But that was, I mean, that was all Lucas. That was a 3v1 solo hold at B right there. He comes up dynamite for him. I think he gets the last kill with the last 2 or 3 bullets in his M4.
Yep.
Beautiful job. And, I mean, he's 10-5 right now. This is not a guy – we talk about Lucas being like the linchpin, the support player for the Tempo Storm guys. He's not always the top fragger, but he's pretty consistent. And when he shows up, that's when Tempo Storm are the scariest. And right now, I mean, again, it's Bolt's top fragging at 13 kills, but Lucas right behind him at 10. It's really Henny at 3-3. But the reason that he's 3-3 is because he's open at A.
Yeah.
They're not going A.
So moving into this one, I believe the money situation for Tempo is still, it's
not great.
It's not great. So Selfless on the force buys, all of these rounds, if they do take one, again, they should force an eco, and that's a nice nade from Bolts as it takes down Uber. Now a 3-on-3. Bolts hiding behind that planter more or less, and I think that was enough to throw off Nifty for a moment there. Eventually Nifty finds the frag, but 2-on-2.
Showtime and Henny left alive against Nifty and Mainline. Henny's got this good angle right here. They are going to smoke off on the rectangle, but the biggest part about this is Showtime coming around in the back lines is going to drop the bomb carrier and Nifty. Now it's all up to Mainline 1v2 with 81 HP and a dream to see if he can make anything happen here, get a second round for Selfless. But, I mean, Henny's watching the front side of the bomb site. Showtime's behind this smoke just waiting for him to push up. And this is just a really, really lethal situation that he's in right now because he's going to have to take a fight with one of these two guys to isolate a 1v1. And now they're both in the same spot. They might both get sprayed down, and they do. That's
nice
a mistake
work from
Henny. That's unfortunate.
So I love how Mainline, again, the bomb is there. He has to hunt for it. If he allows them to just surround him on the 2-on-1, you could see what they were attempting to do there. Tempo was trying to group up and make certain that they were shoulder to shoulder to create that tradable situation. But Mainline finds an excellent, fortunate time. Again, it is fortunate, don't get me wrong. But those are the kind of rounds that you need to convert. When the opportunity's in front of you, Mainline able to find it. Now Selfless on 2. This is what we were talking about. The economy not quite set for the Tempo side as they've been losing at least 2-3 players in most of the rounds, not really able to gain solid economy. So we got a 5-7, actually 2 5-7s. And the mag as well up on Henny. We'll see. Tempo, they've done damn good with less than optimal equipment as we've seen. But Selfless, this is their road to the comeback. It is kind of a T-sided map, and certainly, you know, Tempo is going to have a strong T-side. So Selfless, they got to build quite the buffer here. Even 8-7 is looking is a little worrying.
Well, we saw at the ESEA Premier Land, Tempo Storm obviously showcasing this as a home map. I think they lost a total of like 5 rounds or 4 rounds on Cobblestone over the course of the ESEA Premier Land. So we know that this is a very, very strong map for them, especially they started on Terrorist side and they ended up running the Gambit, just huge, huge Terrorist side half. So their executions and everything like that, like this is one of the things you don't see a Selfless exploiting is drop control. They've taken it a couple of times and they found success the one time that they really went up there. And now it's going to be like this awkward angle for Mainline, but he continues on here. He's going to find the first one on a Showtime, actually pushes the molly, takes good damage from it, but he's going to pull this distraction, this rotation that's come out. Now they've got to be very careful because Lucas, he's playing directly underneath of this player, and Relics finds a nice headshot over at B, so that's going to pull things back. They got to be very careful now.
Here we go as we've got Henny. Ooh, whiffs a shot there. Uber is coming up very close and does take him down. Bolt's still alive and well, though, but on a 1v3, he is surrounded at this point. Relics looking to take the duel here, makes it into the smoke and eventually drops him through the door. So Selfless, they're able to build off of that. So now Tempo, this is a real eco scenario. Force buying here yet again, not a bright idea. And, well, we'll see if Selfless, again, if they can build it all the way back. Maybe that 8-7, just to talk about a standard scoreline, 8-7 is not a good T-half, to put it bluntly.
No.
But if you could string that many together at this point, it could be enough momentum to actually maybe have a chance on that CT side. But at this point, that's again, that silver lining that Selfless, they got to hold on to.
And again, I mean, it's just like default pistols, 5.7 and a P250 upgrade for Phelps and Bolts. Bolt's very strong with a 5.7. We've seen it showcased before. He was able to find a couple of kills in that last round. But 3 rounds now for Selfless. personally, I don't think they're going to get up to 7. I think that they're going to get to, 4 off of this one. Tempo Storm gets back on a buy round, and maybe they reaggress things. Maybe they go for a boost up into the drop zone and try to cut off the head of the snake early. But I think if Selfless gets 5 rounds, they're going to feel relatively successful on this half. Because their CT side was not bad against Winout. It was like an 8-7 half, I think, in favor of Winout in that matchup. So let's see if they can, pull this back a little bit. That'll definitely bode well for them, but I don't see them getting a whole boatload of rounds going forward.
Bolt's able to find one underneath the broken wall here. He does find a 4-on-4, but caught out in the open by Mitch. Phelps on the reload and draw, but Henny finds 2 with the USP, and now he's got an AK to try and win the round with.
This would be a miracle clutch right here, 4v1. Mitch, he's behind a smoke over here by the square. Nifty is in a very familiar spot. They know that he's got an op on Nifty. So this is going to be very, very tricky for him. He's moseyed on out here. That smoke is going to start to fade as well, so he might be able to spot Mitch before Mitch can spot him. Mitch actually coming around the side is going to utilize the smoke, does find Henny. And another very close round there for Selfless. I'm not even sure how he got those 2 kills. I'm sure we probably got a replay POV from that we're probably going to have later on after this map is said and done. But that was, that should never happen. USPs are so weak against head armor.
I think one player was very, very low, so that's where that one came in. But yeah, I think the first was just close enough that he just double dinked him. I'm a little uncertain, but still.
Must have been.
It will be Selfless. It's quite a bit of economic damage done to them, obviously. And that's not good when they're trying to, again, make it all the way back and get as many rounds as they really can. They don't want to eco at all in the rest of this half. But they're going to play more towards A here. As we can see on the tempo side, they're actually playing fairly passive as well. Not playing inside of danger, not playing down towards middle. But we do see that smoke up towards long, and that will hold them off for the moment here in the Selfless side.
It's interesting, to see the communication happen between Tempo Storm members. Henny was watching from the double doors in A, down towards the bottom side of mid, while Showtime was holding an off angle on long A. Some sort of a call was made somewhere that Henny goes back over and now is watching from the backside of the APC towards long, and Showtime dropped down into the pit in mid and is going to be looking for that push to come around from that side. And this is actually the right call right now. Put the Opera on the long-range battle. Let them try to battle it out with these players that are going to be coming around. But Showtime's going to come under a lot of pressure here very, very soon. And a lot of smokes just came out that way. Showtime only gets 1 and traded immediately. And now it's going to be Henny from the back lines of the site. He's got to come up huge now. Phelps, that's an interesting spot.
Phelps is trying to be ninja-like inside of the smoke. The bomb is on main line at the moment. He's underneath the balcony, and he will fall. But it'll be a 3-on-2, bringing it right back, those Lucas and Bolts, and now it's only Mitch. Needs to win this round to keep the Selfless dream alive, but it will be Lucas with the mag 7
away.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but 9 rounds now for Tempo. Of course, they only survived with 1. They will not have the luxury of an op here. On the T side, you can see how important it was that Henny actually was able to find all those frags in that one with the USP and such, because they would have had a pretty full buy moving into this round now. They will be buying, but they got 2 Tech 9s to work with.
Yeah, but the buy is equally as ugly on the Tempo Storm side because they did lose 4 members into the last round. So Henny's on a Mag 7, Lucas on a Mag 7, Bolt's on a 5-7. 2 rifles. They're going to have 1 rifle over at A, 1 rifle over at drop towards B. A fast strat from Selfless here could just completely catch off Tempo Storm, and they could just destroy them coming in towards the B-bomb site. So you can see them lobbing some smokes over, some flashes over the wall. And they're actually going to abate from this area and go back towards A while leaving relics over to try to defend on the B-bomb site or hold for some information. But he actually does go down, so that fake is going to be all for naught. But they're flanking out on Showtime. He's got to get the timing right. They actually get past him, and there they go. They do take down Uber, but now they've given up full A control. It's a retake on A situation now.
Mainline's playing underneath the balcony here. He's going to have a target in a moment. Showtime will be flashing out. Actually eats his own flash, but Mainline can't capitalize off of it as he'll drop a Molotov, and that will cause a lot of issues, as we can see. Smoke towards the connector door, and it's so difficult if you don't have a flank in this specific scenario. Tempo, they do have kits, so obviously time not as of the essence, but Mainline hanging out towards that crawl space area finds Bolts, and now a 3-on-3.
There you go. Finally, Phelps is able to take down 1. Nifty through the back lines of that bomb site's able to take out another one, but he's going to lose his life as well as Mitch, and that is going to be a 10th round now for Tempo Storm. Things dire for Selfless, to say the least. 10 rounds on the CT side of Cobblestone is a formidable CT half.
Oh yeah, no, that's definitely Tempo feeling very confident at this point, and Selfless moving into this last round of the first half.
No money.
They got nada. Got 3,000 on the richest players, and
this is where I want to see just a all-out brute force, maybe 2-3 split, drop in long B, get in their faces. UMP for Mitch, a Galil for Nifty. I want to see him go aggressive. I want to see him go fast, because these slow strategies, they're just getting picked off time and time again. And Molotov will hold him back for a little while, but at least they should be able to just giddy up after that and push in towards this bomb site.
Yeah, we'll see. And what you mentioned in the last round with Showtime and Henny, I was wondering if that was the start of the round, is if they rush through, they have that long distance. But as soon as they kind of rule out that it's a rush, all of a sudden the positions change.
Yeah.
You play a little closer up middle, you play just a little bit different.
Well, that's exactly it, too, because, you know, if they push down through the bottom double doors there in lower mid, Henny's got the range from that AWP. They don't know what kind of buy is coming from them.
Yeah, exactly.
They got to assume they won 2 rounds in a row, so it's probably going to be, you know, at least AKs.
Yeah.
So play the ranged battle there, and then Showtime moves in and plays the off angle, and he's at least able to get one and done. Henny, unfortunately, wasn't able to get anything. He's having a little bit of a rough match here at 6 and 8. But it's Bolts again at 18 kills on the CT. I told you, this guy's CT halves are just dynamite.
Definitely. Lucas, he's going to be playing a ninja spot, and if they don't Molotov, they have the Molotovs, but they don't utilize it. Luckily, Lucas is going to miss those shots, Bolts with 1, but it's a 3-on-4, and a chance here for Selfless to gain their 5th round. Henny is going to be lurking up towards the rock here, and he does take down Uber. So it's Showtime and Henny on the retake. Incendiary, that should flush out Mitch here. He does move back in a way that he doesn't become vulnerable, and actually finds Henny with the UMP. So now it's Showtime left 1v3. He's got a flash, no kit. Main line towards drop down. Nice flash comes out, but actually eats a lot of damage. Eventually, though, Showtime midair eats a headshot, and that Molotov and the Bolts from Nifty. That'll be the round. So 10-5, as there's still a little bit of noise coming out from the Selfless side. But like you had stated, it's hard to be truly excited about getting that amount of rounds.
Yeah, that's the big thing. I mean, they can scream and shout all they want, but they're still in a 5-round deficit going into the more difficult side of this map, and that's the brutal honesty of this point right here, is just the fact that, you know, Tempo Storm runs away on cash, 16-3, 5 rounds for Selfless on their terrorist side of Cobblestone. That's just not going to be enough. That's such a tough spot, and I like the guys from Selfless and everything like that, but again, it goes back to the way that they did their pick bans into this series, where they had the opportunity right off the bat to eliminate Cobblestone.
Yeah.
Take it off the map.
Yeah,
don't even allow them to even think about playing Cobblestone. Make them play something else, because you know Overpass is a permanent ban for Tempo Storm. You know they're going to take that off the board. So you get rid of Cobblestone, you make them play a map like Dust 2, you make them play a map like, I mean, their fallback guaranteed pick is probably Mirage, and Selfless is not a bad Mirage team.
Yeah.
You leave Nuke in there, maybe it gets drawn as a 3rd map, but it's a 33% chance that is going to be your 3rd map. It's still not even a guarantee. But a playing Tempo Storm on their #1 map,
yeah,
I mean, that is such a gamble.
Yeah, see Bolts here in that crazy 1v2. Again, Selfless trying to pinch him, but unfortunately,
his spray down from Phelps was nasty.
Yeah, great work there, double headshot. And this is the story of the half right here. Tempo Storm just hold after hold, and one of the stats they brought up on the desk from the last map is the amount of times that on the T side Selfless was able to find a player advantage, and how many rounds they actually converted. I believe it was 1 out of, I think James mentioned 4.
Yeah, 1
so
out of 4.
Whereas on Tempo, on the other hand, of course, they had a great time once they found entries. So 10-5, moving into the second half. Selfless, in my eyes, got to take pistol here, and they got a raid boss in Lucas to deal with.
And that's the scary thing. I mean, Lucas was definitely on point in the defense of that B bomb site throughout the duration of that first half. So again, I mean, it's just going to be kind of a struggle here off the get-go, and especially if they decided to go for a fast push towards A. Very aggressive, though. Main line all the way pushed up on long A. There is nobody actually watching for the flank right now, so he could go for a very fast flank. But here's the drop control that I was telling you about. This is something that Tempo Storm do often, and they do it really, really well. Wow, there you go, through the smoke there. Lucas, raid boss by. Lucas again finds the second one. Phelps finally falls. Bolts comes in, takes down Uber, so now that B bomb site, it gets cleared in a very awkward, weird way, which is exactly why Tempo Storm is so good on this map, is like, most of the time you would think a drop-down strategy like that goes through window up towards the A-bomb site. They decide to come around to the back lines, and Lucas You called it, the Raid Boss Spy. 4 kills for him in the pistol round.
Yeah, quad kill, can't go wrong with that. And yeah, Nifty looked like he was even like body blocking them for a moment, and they're like, wait, we're not getting through the smoke of the door.
Let's just spam the smoke a little while longer.
I've got a Tech 9, so.
Yeah, you've got a million bullets in the Tech 9, go for it.
Works out well. So moving into this next round, Selfless. Do they save? All right, thank goodness.
So
I'd
it
like
is
to
a
see
full
them
save.
get a good
No armor,
round
no
in.
nothing.
Yeah.
Well, the factor of this is that they need to put the op into Nifty's hands. He had a decent half. He went 14 for 12. And in the opening half, he didn't have the biggest impact with the AWP. He was rifling most of the half, but you need to get the op into his hands to hold that B bomb site. That's just going to be crucial.
Nice entry from Phelps here as mainline falls. Selfless. Nothing too creative outside of they're just leaning towards B a little bit more, but you can see mainline taken out in a way that he is fairly alone. I'd like to see Selfless do something a little bit more. That, like, this is a pretty standard looking round, and to do that when you just have pistols. If Tempo Storm survives with 5 here, it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest because, again, Selfless haven't given themselves much of a shot. Relics, all right, taking down Uber.
There's given a shot.
Yes, and, well, he does find Phelps as well. We'll give him the double kill.
At this point, when do you call a timeout? I would have gone in the first half when it was 8 rounds to like 1. I mean, Selfless are going to give Tempo Storm an opportunity to get up to 13 here, which is going to be really scary because, I mean, obviously they're only 3 rounds away from closing it out. Selfless struggled at the beginning of their win-out match against them on Cobblestone in the first opening couple of rounds before they started to really get their feet underneath of them, but I mean, a timeout has to get called at some point to talk about things, but now you're on the CT side. You've wasted a lot of rounds in the other team's favor, and now it's just going to be a brute force tactic in towards B. This is something that we didn't really see out of Selfless. There's at least an exchange going on here for the first time in a couple of rounds.
And I don't actually mind Tempo Storm doing this. Usually I'm very against a team just like on an anti-eco brute forcing a bomb site.
Yeah.
But what they saw in the last round is that Selfless just playing standard. So they're like, well, if you're going to play standard 1 at Broken Wall, we're just going to bully them and you're not going to be able to hold. So yeah, maybe if Selfless went for a little bit, maybe like a nade or 2 here, like we see that HE nade stack every once in a while, maybe that, but Tempo had the read that they're not getting that creative, and they were on point, and they take the round, and now 13-5, Selfless. This is the buy we were highlighting. They saved for this. They get almost everything they're looking for. Nifty with that AWP, but this is their shot to bring it back.
Nifty's a little light on utility, but it doesn't really make too terribly much of a difference. You're going to drop out a little bit over here, but look at how forward Bolts is, and if they do decide to push Nifty up and he loses his life here, and he actually finds a little bit of a one-way in this smoke, oh, and he pushes forward, he might be able to catch out Mitch. He does. Uber does bail out Nifty. If he doesn't get that kill, Nifty probably dies there as well. But Nifty is at least going to get spammed up in this molly. Yeesh. It does miss the mark, unfortunately. Not going to spread through the plywood.
Sad times. You'd think it would all light on fire, but not the case here, as we see
Yeah,
Nifty.
could you imagine that if you mollied the chicken coop and it just burned the whole thing down?
Please, Valve, no destructible, none of that environmental variables as we move forward
This
here.
isn't Red Faction 2. We don't need breakable walls
by the
here.
way. But Henny and Lucas 2 on 3. And Henny's going to be creeping forward. What a shot on the main line. As now a 2 on 2. And again, Henny has to be the point man in this regard. Lucas is so lit that, again, it needs to play headshot angles more or less, hence why he's staying up on this broken wall.
Well, this is where Tempo Storm is so good. Is like, okay, we're into a 2v3. We've got a man disadvantage right now. They slow things down. They wait. They work things together as this team, you know, this unit. And it's been Showtime and Henny usually, but this time around it's going to be Lucas and Henny. And now, look, they've gotten the information. They flushed out Relics, and now it's just going to be Uber sitting behind Rock. What can he do? It looks like Henny already knows that he's here because he's just staring it down. And it doesn't even matter. Lucas finds a nice shot. So they played both sides angled on Rock.
Sick.
And it's just that's the chemistry. That's the teamwork. Yep. These Brazilians are just relentless, and they're so good at grinding out rounds, like I've said before. That was a grind right there. I mean, they lost the advantage early on in the round, and they're just able to sit there and just piece by piece pick themselves back up and get themselves back into the round and ultimately end up winning the round.
Yep, Tempo just, again, kind of veterans of that kind of play were on that specific situation, just waiting for Selfless. It's like, all right, well, we know we have time. We're going to allow you to make some mistakes, and we'll capitalize on it. So Tempo, again, up 14-5, and Lucas going to smoke towards the window side of drop. See how quick this play is going to be as Phelps is already out of the broken wall platform. Somehow Mitch and Nifty had no idea that this was the case. Relics is going to try and return, but Bolt's right in his face. Uber towards drop falls, and Mainline now all alone.
Man, barely any damage being dealt there. Ooh.
Oh boy.
All right, I take that back. He's at least going to be able to take down Lucas. It's just a puddle in the pond at this point, though. Drop in the bucket. I mean, you look at the across the board there. I mean, we talked about, I think it was like Henny had 6 kills going into the second half. He's up at 12 kills now. So, and the quality of those kills, the impact of those kills as well. That last round, getting those 2 op kills to flush out Relics, flush out Nifty, I believe it was, were the 2 players that were part of that 2v3 until the very end when Uber died. So, 15-5, really just. I mean, again, it boils down to letting.
Oh no!
Not like this.
Right. So they go for a boost and drop, and they all like Nifty whiffs, and then he goes down, and the player that boosted him dies to fire.
Yeah.
And well, Relics finds Showtime, but they are out on the B bomb site. Phelps is already swinging wide, finds Mitch, and now a 2-on-4 tempo looking to close out this best of 3.
Henny? Throwing out a little bit of a flick no scope over there by the drop window, and he's just going to make a little bit of noise for it. Nice shot there from Relics, doing to Henny what he did to Nifty last round. But again, I mean, it's just going to be such a struggle situation. Henny's so close up here on drop. He's just waiting for this push to come around. Does miss the shot. Not going to be able to get out of dodge in time, but these backwards positions here from Lucas, playing from Chicken Coop, and Bolt playing from back plat B, just going to be so difficult. Molly's off the mark. Nate does come around, does good damage, but Bolts is able to clean up one in the meantime. Relics goes down, 16-5, going to be your final score. They drop 11 rounds in 2 maps. Tempo Storm came to play today.
They certainly did, and they come out with a performance that we more or less expected. Of course, there's always kind of, how is this going to turn out? How big does Selfless show up? And unfortunately for them, they will not be able to find really any success in this best of 3. And moving forward, hopefully they can kind of shake it off, have a short memory. Again, they're not out of this. Our playoff bracket is double elimination.
Yes.
So
They're going to be playing up against
Team
TSM.
Solo Mid.
Yeah, so it'll be TSM. Optic and Tempo Storm are our upper bracket teams that are going to be playing, I believe, later on today in our 3rd best of 3. So we'll have those guys play. TSM coming up next with Selfless as well. So that's going to be an interesting matchup because TSM was actually able to bring a little bit of noise going into that matchup against Optic yesterday. It went all 3 maps. So as far as I'm concerned, I think in that situation, I'm probably going to favor Team Solo Mid over Selfless, especially with the way that Selfless looked here. TSM likes to play Cobblestone as well.
Yep.
So that might be something that if they ban Nuke, then Cobblestone's going to get picked again for TSM for sure. Overpass is a map that both teams like to play. We saw TSM pick that against Optic yesterday. So it's going to make for a pretty interesting series coming up after this, but man, Tempo Storm, they're scary.
They certainly are, and they're very consistent, and that's a difficult thing to do in Counter-Strike. So for them to be able to, again, perform like this against Selfless, they were the underdogs, certainly. But it does look like we've got an interview with Showtime, so let's hear what he has to say.
Boys, thank you so much. Indeed, I am with Showtime and also LG Dead. Guys, congratulations first, and I wanted to talk a little bit about your matchup and also, in general, what's going on with Tempo Storm here. Because so far, you guys have had Cobble, the map that seems to be your favorite map and your best map, and you always seem to be able to pick it. So what is your strategy right now going into the map veto process versus all your opponents?
Toda vez que eles deixam Cobble, a gente acaba picando. Qual que é mais ou menos a estratégia que a gente faz nos vetos para acabar pegando Cobble, essas coisas?
Geralmente a gente costuma jogar o mapa o nosso melhor, que é Cobble mesmo. A gente geralmente veta os mapas que a gente menos treina. E Nuke a gente não vetou hoje, a gente deixou para eles. A gente se surpreendeu com o veto deles de Nuke. Eu achei que eles iam vetar Cobble depois do resultado de ontem contra o Winout, porque o Winout jogou muito bem Cobble contra eles. E a gente decidiu vetar o Overpass mesmo assim, que é um mapa que a gente não está treinando muito no momento. E é isso.
Yeah, pretty much like we came to the match, we were thinking like they would veto like Cobble, But they know probably going to be Easter pick for us. We were kind of like this because they were struggling yesterday, like against Win now. And we play like a lot of couples because it's kind of the map everybody led there. And they are like confident on this map. And they don't play like much like overpass. We thought like they would like veto, and we don't. It's pretty much like that. Like they just playing couple because people let them play. Yeah, no worries.
Okay, sorry about that. And then we're looking at, everybody seems to be banning Nuke too. Do you think it's a mistake right now that your opponents are actually banning Nuke, meaning that they are less prepared than you guys are on a map like Nuke now in the rotation?
Então, todo mundo tá banindo Nuke. Você acha que vale a pena banir Nuke hoje? Porque alguns mapas vocês estão, eles estão menos preparados que vocês. Mas a Nuke poderia ser um mapa que alguém pode se preparar. Você acha que isso daí?
Nuke acho que é um mapa que não teve muito tempo para treinar ainda, todas as equipes, por causa das ligas. A gente chegou semana passada de Londres, tá tendo muito campeonato. Semana passada não, desculpa, semana retrasada, e jogamos logo em seguida a DreamHack Out, não teve muito tempo para treinar. Treinamos Nuke sim, pode esperar, se tiver que jogar a gente vai jogar. E em relação às equipes, é isso, não teve muito tempo para treinar ainda, e é isso.
Oh, he pretty much like with the schedule right now, it's been crazy, and he thinks like a lot of like teams they didn't have like any time to practice Nuke at all, especially like Optic, like them. They just came like 2 weeks ago from London, but even like this, they practice like 1 week in Nuke, and if it comes Nuke, yeah, they will play, but. It's been so crazy with the schedule and everything, so pretty much like none of the teams have time to play Nuke, so that's why.
Okay. So you guys talk about Optic, maybe the only team that maybe have practiced Nuke. They actually have to be the team you guys have to face now to be your last step to actually qualify for the major qualifier. So what are your thoughts coming into this next best out of 3? And also tell me a bit about Mixwell, your thoughts about him coming into Optic Gaming.
O que você acha que talvez o Optic vai jogar Nuke, eles têm a tendência talvez tentar jogar Nuke. O que você acha que vai ser, como vai ser a partida, e o que você pode falar do Mixwell?
Contra o Optic, a gente sabe que seria o time a ser batido aqui junto de nós. A gente se preparou para jogar contra o Optic. Se tiver que jogar Nuke, a gente vai jogar. Sobre o Mixwell, ele é um bom jogador. Ele não entrou, faz pouco tempo que ele está na equipe, mas ele é um bom Alper. Ele lidera o time, ele bota o time para frente. E estamos preparados para ele também, pode vir.
Oh yeah, like about Optic, they knew that probably will be like this final for the spot, like for the final spot. So they got like prepared for Optic and everything. About like Mixwell, he's a really good Alper, and he always like try to push like his team, even if he's new right now on Optic, but he seems to be like feel like very well on them, and we are ready. Let them come.
For sure, and if we're going to talk about how well Mixwell Op was, I got to say, great job with the Op today on Cash. You lit it up, and I hope that it continues for you. So congratulations. I'll let you guys talk about the next series to prepare for Optic. We're going to send it back to the desk to break down the best out of 3 that we just witnessed.
All right, thank you very much, Van Silly. No surprise here, you guys are 1 for 1 on today's predictions, and actually pretty close on the rounds. They're just 5 rounds in game number 2, but for a moment there, it looked like Selfless was doing some things right. Maybe they were going to be able to reach double digits in this game. What was happening that you liked?
Okay, so what we talked about before was we talked about they needed to win pistols, which they didn't, but they did an excellent job on their T side getting the entry kills, which I know they're going to kick themselves about because they were talking last night about how they always need entry kills and to have a chance and basically trade well. But they got the entry kills and they got the advantages maybe 9 times out of the 15 rounds, but then they threw it away. So I want to go through a clip where they actually got 2 kills first, and it was a 5-on-3, if we can run that clip now. They basically had a 5-on-3, and then they enter B one at a time. There's no one around to trade for them, and they just throw the advantage away. Like it goes 1 by 1 by 1, and this is just a sad display of trading and throwing away an advantage that you had, and not only did they lose the round, they didn't even get another frag.
Okay.
So now their money doesn't even take a hit on that round, and they just threw it away, and they did that several times throughout the half. And if they want to win these rounds against higher caliber teams, they got to get these trades, but then they have to convert the trades and the man advantage and actually secure the round.
James, what happens there? How does this play out to where you are charging in 1 by 1? Because it's not just Selfless that we've seen this from. Winout was doing it a few days ago. We've seen Team Caliber and also Energy also struggling with this on the T side.
So the example that teams should follow is Luminosities. Fallen has them on lock. What they do, we noticed at the Major, prior to playing them, the moment they get a pick and they're up 5v4, they circle the map like a pack of rabid dogs, looking together, protecting each other for another. They know the CT's down numbers need to equalize, so they use the clock. They say, okay, we got a minute and 20. We made a pick early. Let's move around the map, and we look for anybody trying to attack us. Just relaxed and careful. Then they wait an appropriate amount of time. Then they might throw a fake to look for one more, or they relax, and then they make a solid execution and go as a team and trade, and they always use their numbers decisively.
Okay, so something to learn there. Selfless, a little bit sloppy play on the T side. Tempo Storm, though, very strong throughout this game. James, I know you had a few notes. Anything you want to touch on from the first half or the early second half?
Yeah, CS is a game about minimizing your mistakes. The team that makes the least amount of mistakes is going to win. So I really felt in round 13, we can take a look. They had the bomb coming up. They had this execution. They got their. This could have been 8-7. They had their timing right. They had their mollies. They had this nice smoke wall. And you're going to see Mainline completely either forget that he had the bomb or just make a bonehead play where he runs under the bridge right here, the balcony.
Hell.
Yeah, and he just loses the bomb here. And so does he forget that he has the bomb? These little tiny mistakes, they did so well. Everything was perfect. That could have been an 8-7 half, and they just threw the bomb away.
And that just seems like kind of fundamentals. It's not even a cobble issue. That's just something you should know you can't be doing on T side. Who's got the bomb, who's in charge of getting it down, and who's going to be watching his back. So Selfless, sloppy play, but very solid play from Tempo Storm throughout. We have a lot of highlights, and the one that got me really pumped up early on, you saw MLG retweeting it. It's this man, Bolts, in the 1-on-2.
Huge.
Plays it perfectly. Before that moment, he was just dancing around the pillar. Scouted out where both players were and then was able to execute. But the frags just kept coming all game. Nifty with the op had a few opportunities, but this was really just the story of how strong Tempo Storm has been throughout this tournament.
Yeah, like Selfless, again, like on their first half, they got the bomb down like plenty of times and had so many opportunities to win the rounds, but then Tempo was able to retake basically almost every time. So again, it's going to come down to Selfless kicking themselves because I know the way they think and the way they talk to each other and how they want to be effective, like trading and their nade uses and like working as a team. But this match was a prime example of like them doing a very good job starting off rounds perfectly, but then they just threw them away by either being impatient. I'm not sure if it's the individual player making a move too early and not communicating it, or if it's the in-game leader, or if it's the coach not basically taking control of them and hey, regroup, gather up, and like to keep the spacing between them well and like trade effectively, or if it's just one guy being antsy and just throwing around away like that one clip we saw where they entered B one at a time.
Now, of course, this is a double elimination tournament, guys, so we know that Tempo is going to move on to play Optic Gaming. That is our winner's match. So the winner of that goes through to the major qualifier. You secure yourself a spot in the grand finals here this weekend, but most importantly, you're going to the major qualifier. Then we're going to see Selfless play off against TSM a little bit later in the day. James, after losing 2 games back-to-back, I know there's a lot of teams that are playing online and even similar circumstances on LAN. How do you get your head back in the game after being kind of blown out 2 games where you don't even reach double digits?
The way I think they need to do it is quickly. Maybe they'll watch the analyst desk and see what we talked about the match. Maybe their coach. No, seriously,
they probably won't watch us.
No,
they're in the venue.
Actually,
with no speakers.
Actually, they did. They started tweeting about they should be buying P90s. So
okay,
they're listening.
30 minutes after I said it.
Here's the point, though. They need to really understand why they lost and then take it against TSM, Selfless versus TSM. Those are 2 teams with 2 young players. That's the fate of NA in a sense of the up-and-coming talent coming up. Like if they can minimize the mistakes, it's really that's the tale of the 2 young teams coming up and who's going to be the top out of them.
Is there any way to intimidate your opponent? Because back when I was a player, like 2003, I would go and just talk smack to people before a match. Just try and get in their head before the game. Counter-Strike, you guys seem to be pretty respectful community. Everyone pretty polite to each other, at least in person. Is there a way that I can try and throw the 16-year-old, 17-year-old on tilt, or maybe even get in the heads of the veterans like Selfless and Automatic? Or is TSM coming in here after watching that match even more confident?
You know what? Honestly, if Selfless if they're smart, they're not going to talk to TSM anyway and try to get in the young kids' heads. I was going to say little kids. The young kids' heads.
They are also small. Well,
like 140
Sick is tall,
pounds.
but
You
yeah.
just like toss them. You wouldn't try to get in their heads. You need to fix your own game.
Okay.
And the good thing about what just happened here, if Selfless can take out, is that the fact that they already played 2 maps on the day. So at least they've actually are comfortable and they've played.
Right.
So they can take that and they can jump out to basically an earlier lead against TSM because TSM's coming in cold. They haven't played yet. So at least they're warmed up aim-wise. So they can take that as their advantage and maybe get out to that first map advantage early. Instead of they have to put this one behind them, talk about the trading, and then move on and just be ready and prepare so that TSM is hopefully going to come in cold and they can get an early 1 map advantage.
That is going to be our next match, guys. Of course, if you didn't catch the schedule at the top of the show, we started things off with our winners round 1. Now we're headed to the elimination matches. It's the loser side of our double elimination bracket. Selfless TSM playing basically to see who's going to stay alive. Loser is going to get 4th place and $2,500. So a big match here. If you want to get a chance to go to the major, you, of course, have to get to the major qualifier by finishing top 2 here this weekend. Thank you for tuning in so far. Plenty more Counter-Strike Global Offensive when we return.